5 Basic Necessities of Life. What are the 5 basic necessities of life? 5 basic necessities of life. 1. Nutritious food. 2. Basic and secure housing and utilities. 3. Basic clothing applicable to the climate. 4. Comprehensive health and mental care. 5. Basic public education, including 4 years at an accredited university or college. We now have the technology and industry available to us to provide the basic necessities of life to all human beings equally. Some might suggest that this utopian idealistic proposal is impossible in our current world. These some are unequivocally wrong. Not only can we do it, but we can do it in a matter of a few years. We can do it without disrupting the free market, or rather, the free will of those who want to make a profit and enrich themselves. In fact, we can help those who have a right to their free will, and want to be wealthy, become even wealthier, simply by supporting the proposal. We can do it without introducing major changes into the way our world currently operates. We can do it. Here's how. Note, the following descriptive explanations are only outlines of specific programs, given appropriate names, using acronyms, for each purpose, as might be consistent with the current codes of the United States, a nation where the plan could be immediately established and implemented. There is much more to each program than what is presented herein. By using common sense and the powers given to Congress by this Constitution, government will be able to ascertain other important details and needed aspects of each of the following programs. The examples and suggestions offered below are only for clarity of how this crucial part of the Constitution can be fulfilled. Basic necessity number 1. Food. To provide food to everyone, give every human being food authorization credits for every one face. These credits can be stored on cards and will be accepted at any grocery store or food outlet anywhere in the world. However, they will not allow an individual to purchase anything but good nutritious food. A commission can be established that consists of the nation's top health and nutrition officials. The commission can authorize which foods can be acquired with the face card. Nothing that causes the human body any harm will be acceptable. This means no soft drinks, no processed foods, no candy, and no desserts, nothing that negatively affects a healthy body. If a person wants other foods that are not purchasable with the face card, that person must go to work and earn the money to buy what he or she desires. The Face Commission will be responsible for the quality and safety of the food it authorizes. It will oversee quality inspectors, whose primary job will be to inspect the production of all of the food that is authorized. Here's an example. A farmer who wants to grow a food product that is acceptable for the FACE program must apply to get that farmer's product approved. A commissioned inspector will visit the farm and inspect the means of production and the quality of the product. Note, according to Article I, Section 1, c, the farmer's production methods must protect Earth's environs. If the food does not meet FACE standards, the farmer's application will be denied. The inspectors will ensure safety and quality from the farm to the grocery outlet, to the mouth of the consumer. Any packaged product manufactured, processed food, by any company will be required to go through the same strict approval process. To avoid commissioner or inspector fraud and corruption, possibly by the acceptance of a kickback payment, to encourage the approval of a particular product, a violation of FACE's rules will be viewed as a crime against humanity and punished appropriately. Both FACE commissioners and inspectors will be compensated sufficiently to make their job a suitable career choice for which the most educated people will compete. FACE can also be approved to be accepted at any authorized buffet restaurant to support those who do not have the desire or ability to prepare food for themselves. The card will authorize a daily purchase amount. These authorized restaurants will be inspected and approved based on the quality of the food that they offer, which must also be nutritious and meet established FACE standards. After meeting this threshold standard, competition among restaurant entrepreneurs will lead to contests, in effect, to see which will have the best tasting food and most inviting atmosphere in which to entice those with FACE cards to eat. An example of this using current market trends for buffet type restaurants, one spends about $10 for an all-you-can-eat meal. These restaurants are obviously making a profit in offering a meal for that price and compete among the several restaurant chains to gain customers. Because their customer base will expand significantly once the FACE program is in place, there will be greater competition to offer the most nutritious foods and to win a government-supported FACE contract. The same scenario of competition will exist among the other food producers who ship their products to grocery outlets. The rules that govern FACE will not allow monopolization by any one company. The producer that offers the best food at the best price will get the authorization. Authorizing any particular food or restaurant will be as simple as a few keystrokes on the FACE central computer, similar to how credit card companies typically monitor the use of credit cards and adjust usage depending on the creditworthiness of the cardholder. With the increased competition to create a business that produces food products and services that meet FACE approval, the quality and presentation of nutritious food will increase significantly through free market competition. The food producers will continue to be paid by the food retailers, just as they are in our current free markets. The food retailers who are authorized to accept the FACE card will be reimbursed similar to the way that the current United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, reimburses the retailers who accept its food stamps. The USDA food stamp program is a practical example of how the FACE program would work, although not allowing non-nutritious foods to be purchased. Because we are accustomed to eating what we want, when we want, and because we can only purchase good nutritious foods on this plan, the incentive to work will increase, not decrease. Those who choose not to work will only be eating the foods that will ultimately increase their overall physical and mental health. No longer will a person with integrity hold a sign that reads, "Will work for food." If one does hold such a sign, the remorse felt by the rest of us in passing by without giving up our money for something that is guaranteed by law will diminish. Additionally, no one can abuse the FACE program by purchasing too much food and trying to sell it for money. Those to whom one might sell the food could question, "Why should I pay you money for food that I can get free just like you did?" There will be no extensive application process or monitoring of personal means and finances to obtain a FACE card. If you meet the criteria set by this constitution, you get a card. If you are rich or poor, you get a card. The money that a person would usually spend on food will be redirected into purchases that support a free market economy. A person who utilizes FACE will have more money to buy other things that support their individuality. Because our current economy is already a worldwide conglomerate, where the economic structure of one nation directly affects that of all other countries, it would not be hard for other countries to implement the FACE program throughout the world. If food retailers knew that 5 million starving Africans were going to be carrying their own FACE card, they would scramble to set up their businesses for profit in Africa, thereby hastening the process for these people to start using their cards. In time, the world's food production would increase, not only to match the quality and nutrition levels set by FACEs, but by the demands of the card-carrying people. Food production and retail grocery stores and restaurants would replace weapons manufacturing as the #1 profitable business in the world. Just imagine that. Basic necessity number 2. Shelter. Each person can be issued a housing assistance voucher for every one have. This voucher will be used to rent a have-approved residence. The voucher can also be used for long-term payments of motel or hotel accommodations in the case of an emergency housing need. A have commission can be established by Congress. The government will reimburse the landlord, corporate property management company, or hotel or motel chain according to the average rent of any particular area, or the established market price of the room. The owners of the properties must obtain have pre-approval before a have will be honored. Authorized have inspectors will ensure that the property is safe for residency. This program could be very similar to the current U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Section 8 program, the differences being that everyone who wants a voucher will receive one, and the voucher will pay 100% of the market rent instead of a set amount, based on the income of the person. The size of the rental unit will also help determine the rental amount. Heads of household with children will need only one voucher, have, per household. The amount approved will depend on the number of dependents under the age of 18 years, or those so dependent by a physical or mental disability, and will also depend upon the number of bedrooms required. Once a person reaches the age of 18, he or she will be eligible for his or her own have. A property owner will only receive one HAV reimbursement per rental unit, regardless of how many adults and children live there. Because owners must pre-approve their renters, they can make restrictions on the occupancy according to their maintenance needs. HAV commissioners can also determine the appropriate needs of the people relevant to the ability of property owners to provide rental units. HAV inspectors will be the main employees of this program. They will be trained to inspect residences and ensure safety. Only upon a HAV inspector approval will a property owner be approved to receive reimbursement of a HAV voucher. Each residence will be inspected annually. The people who utilize the HAV program will also be able to contact an inspector if any violation by property owners arises. The property owner can also evict any tenant for violation of applicable landlord/tenant laws by filing a grievance with the HAV Commission. Property owners are guaranteed payment for each HAV voucher they receive for the rental of their property. Strict criminal penalties will be enforced to discourage fraud. If convicted of any HAV rule violation, the property owner will be banned from the program for a set time period, or continually, according to the severity of the violation. The HAV Assistance Program will help people find homes in the area in which they wish to reside, and will also assist property owners with any of their problems. The renters will be responsible for the proper upkeep and care of the residence, unless otherwise provided by the landlord or homeowners association. Those who continually violate general rules of reasonable care of the property will be penalized. These penalties will include being remanded to managed family facilities, MFF, where a family will be able to live, but will have their freedom restricted until they learn how to responsibly and properly care for property. These MFF will be set up for instruction and support rather than punishment. However, those who cannot be trusted to take care of HAV subsidized homes, and have repeatedly proven their unwillingness to do so, will be forced to live in these secure, structured, and government-managed facilities. Each home will be allotted a certain number of HAV's energy credits, which will provide the residents with electricity and gas, depending on the rental unit size and proportionate to the number of people residing in the unit. The property owners will be responsible for garbage disposal, sewer, and water, unless otherwise approved by the HAV program. Compensation for these basic utilities will be included in the acceptable market value of the rental property, set by the owner, and approved by the HAV Commission. The HAV program can be used to acquire ownership of any property. If a person wishes to own their own home, they must participate in the free market system. However, by utilizing HAV, a young couple, for example, will be able to save for a substantial down payment on their own home. If the couple chooses to utilize the HAV program until they have saved enough money to buy their own home outright, that will be their choice. The free market will flourish because people will be spending the money they would normally have to spend for housing on other things. Construction companies and land developers will rush to build HAV-approved housing because they will know that the rent is guaranteed. Competition between companies will lead to better quality housing for everyone because the people get to choose where they live. If a person is living in an approved HAV residence and a better one is built elsewhere, nothing will prohibit the person from moving to the better unit. Engineers, architects, and developers will bid on the major contracts needed to house the people of the world, just as they did to develop the vast city of Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, in the middle of the desert. Technology will support the development of quality housing anywhere in the world. Wherever there are people who need a home, they will have one through the HAV program. And when the people have the means to pay for their own privately owned home, capitalists will willingly take their money for a profit by providing them with one. Basic necessity number 3. Healthcare. Health and universal medical assistance needs for everyone humane, similar to the current US Medicare/Medicaid systems, will provide physical and mental health care for everyone. Through the humane program, people will choose their own doctor, hospital, dentist, pharmacist, psychologist, therapist, etc., according to their personal needs and wants. The best doctors and the best hospitals will see the most patients, therefore, they will make the most money. A congressionally established Humane Commission will determine the proper amount to compensate healthcare providers for their services, compensating healthcare professionals appropriately and fairly. Nothing is more valuable to a well-fed, well-housed, well-clothed person than their health. Therefore, Healthcare providers will be compensated sufficiently to effect the most efficient and advanced healthcare for all people. Again, people get to choose who their doctor is or which hospital they wish to go to for treatment without restrictions. Healthcare providers will be drawn into the forefront of free market competition. No other government-backed career will earn more than healthcare professionals, thus entice those who want to become wealthy with an incentive and the means to do so in helping provided health services for others. Each person will have a humane card that will identify the person and have his or her medical records encrypted upon a microchip in their personal card. No matter where one chooses to go, that person will have their medical records with them. A universal medical database will be established that has a complete record of everyone's medical records and history. If someone loses their card, their medical information will be readily available. Of course, all of this will be strictly confidential. A simple swab of the mouth, a fingerprint, or an iris scan will access any human being's medical records. Humane commissioners can oversee the healthcare that is provided for any individual. With a centralized database and the elimination of cash as a means of payment, the ability for healthcare providers to cheat the system will be eliminated. Humane commissioners will decide what medical, pharmaceutical, dental, and mental health services will be universally provided to ensure the health and welfare of all people equally. Humane will not pay for unnecessary medical attention such as cosmetic surgery or other non-essential services that do not pertain to the general physical and mental health of the individual. However, cosmetic surgery, reconstruction for natural deformities or those caused by accidents, along with gender identity issues that create mental abnormalities, will be covered. Those pertaining to the vanity of the individual will not. Any abuse of the humane program will be considered a crime against humanity and punishable according to the severity of the crime. Some current healthcare providers overbill and charge for unseen patients. If a healthcare provider is convicted of humane abuse, they will lose their ability to participate in the program and be subject to other criminal penalties. People will not be able to abuse the program because the covered procedures will be understood and outlined specifically for them. In fact, if the above-face program is in effect, most people will be eating a lot healthier, thus limiting their need for general health care at all. The money alone saved in not allowing the purchase of junk food, as is currently the case with the food stamp program, and the resulting beneficial effects on the body, will be enough to pay for the healthcare professionals who want to get rich providing health care to others. The viability of the humane program comes from the desire of healthcare professionals to be compensated properly for their services. When these professionals realize that they are going to be valued and compensated according to their needs and wants, they will do whatever it takes to provide quality healthcare. Some will continue to desire participation in the program for the sake of caring for the well-being of the people of the world. But, as current human nature is, the better the pay, the better the care. Again, the way humane will be set up will result in competition, which creates quality in a free market system. Basic necessity number 4. Clothing. Most people living in civilized communities and countries of the world have closets full of extra clothing. Congress can establish a clothing assistance resources for everyone, commission to provide clothing to anyone in need. Used clothing receptacles can be placed in the communities of the world where people can deposit their unwanted clothing. The Care Commission will establish a way to collect this clothing, wash it, and place it in care distribution facilities, where the clothing will be free of charge to anyone needing it. If any clothing is not obtained within a period of 1 year, it will be sent to a care-supported recycling center that will recycle the clothing into other fashion products that are in demand in the free market system. The recycled clothing will eventually make enough money to pay for the rest of care needs. Basic necessity number 5. Education. Education and quality universal assistance for learning, equal, will be available to all human beings free of charge. No government can place a specific legal value on education. It should be available to all people of the world equally. However, the requirements for graduation can be enhanced and improved by making it difficult for a person to gain a certificate or degree in any particular field to ensure that these degrees are not misused. For example, those who wish to become a doctor will be required to comply with a strict regimen of medical school education that will ensure quality doctors. Because medical school will be free to anyone wishing to attend, the importance of receiving a degree will be restrictive and left for those with sincere intent, thus ensuring quality medical professionals. Because education will be free, the pool of human intellect will grow. This will create competition between the schools and a greater quality of educated people. Most importantly, each human being will be allowed to learn those unique things that support his or her own individuality. People will finally be left with no excuse as to why they did not receive an appropriate education with an emphasis on their personal elective field. Nevertheless, those who do not desire to go through the regiment of strict educational requirements needed to obtain a degree will not have to. Because their basic human needs will be provided for, they can go to school or not, depending on what makes them happy. School administrators, professors, and teachers will be paid appropriately according to current free market trends. Although these equal service providers are not as necessary to basic human physical needs as healthcare providers are, they are important for the emotional state of human beings living in a free market world. They should be compensated based on their ability to retain students in their classrooms. Because education will be free, schools will be in competition to hire the best teachers that will attract the most students. Schools will have to offer the classes that the students want. The demand for education will create the supply in education as it does in all other aspects of a free market economy. Private schools will remain under private for-profit management. If an educational entrepreneur wants to establish a school that will attract students and provide educational disciplines that meet equal guidelines, then let them compete with those thus established. Daily attendance will be tracked, and schools will be paid based on student attendance. Students will have an education card, much like a credit card, that can be used to pay for their education. Any abuse of equal by school administrators or teachers will result in the charge of a crime against humanity and be appropriately punished. For more questions about 5 basic necessities of life, please see the frequently asked questions page. End of 5 basic necessities of life.